Today's scripture lesson is from Genesis chapter 21, verses 14 through 20. Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder along with the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered about in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she cast the child under one of the bushes. Then she went and sat down opposite him a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot. For she said, "Do not let me look on the death of the child." And as she sat opposite him, she lifted up her voice and wept. But God heard the voice of the boy. And the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Come, lift up the boy and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make a great nation of him." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert with the bow. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
So this is a very, very appropriate reading for our discussion with our autumn speaker. We heard her talking about her life experience, and she read for us from Dora Rodriguez from her book, which is still there at the back. You can still purchase and have it signed if you so desire. Very appropriate book for Dora and her life experience. And I prepared a few questions, or we pre-discussed that a little bit. Dora was born in El Salvador and then shared Hagar's story, more or less. Not necessarily traveling with a little child, but you were still almost a child. If you can tell us a little bit, here Hagar and little Ishmael are being pushed out by Abraham and Sarah into wilderness and out from their original home. But how it was for you, Dora? What forced you from your home?
So, good morning, everyone. I'm so thankful to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I want to welcome my beautiful family that I got the pleasure to meet in Sasabe, Sonora. And they came from New Jersey and visited and be with us. I'm so honored to have them here. Also our friends and everybody. So going back to your question, Dora was only 19 years old.
19 years old.
And, growing up, I never imagined leaving my home. I never imagined leaving my mother, leaving what you know, your family, your friends, what it makes you feel safe, everything that you know that is your life. So when I was 19, as this happened in the scripture, I was forced to leave my country because it was either life or death. And we, in 1980, in El Salvador, had a civil war. And the civil war displaced 1 million people like Dora. So it was many of us, thousands and thousands of people fleeing our country to seek safety, to save their lives. And we're talking children, many families, whole families, men, women, everybody had to leave our country.
And because of the paramilitary and militias and all almost fascist army. Am I right?
You're
who
right.
just forced you because you cared for poor people in your village.
Right. So as I talk in my book, you know, I think some of us are born with our own calling, per se. And I discovered that since I was a child in my own community. I always enjoy helping people, getting communities together, making places that people will have an opportunity to grow and be better at whatever they want to do. So that got me in trouble because I was an organizer, and that was not acceptable with the government. I organized school groups. I was part of the Boy Scouts. I was also part of church group with the Maryknoll sisters that later on were killed in our country. So, you know, all those connections were not well received by the government in that moment. So I had to, in order for me to make sure that my family would be safe, my mother, my siblings, I had to leave. I had no other choice.
Yeah. And like Hagar in the Bible, she actually is pushed out twice, or first she escapes and second time she is sent. This is the second time. You had also several attempts, am I right? Did I read it correctly? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so our journey, you know, my journey, it was not easy, because when you do not have the privilege or the opportunity to come to this country with a visa, when you are in a country with no financial level where it's easier to go to an embassy and ask for a visa to come as a tourist. So if you have to leave because it's a matter of life or death, you're gonna do whatever it takes. So that's what happened to me. I was pretty much from a single mother, so we did not have all the large money that's required for us to get a tourist visa, to be able to fly in a plane and come in safety, you know, none of that. So I had to try my journey 3 times. So 2 times in the same year, in 1980, I was arrested right at the border, a 19-year-old that had never left her country, never had any encounters with authority, so I really didn't know what that was. And I was sent back to my country. But this time, I was sent back as a criminal. I had never flew in a plane, so I went in a plane with shackles in my legs, in my arms, and seen by people in first class as the worst person. Those experiences didn't stop me because I had to leave. I had to save my life. So we tried 3rd time.
Yeah.
So the journey was 3 times.
And for the 3rd time, you were crossing that Sonoran Desert down in Mexico and Arizona. And the story in the Bible tells about Ishmael, that's that boy there. And I still remember the teacher telling us, you know, Ishmael, counting based upon the biblical story, should be something like 13, 14 years. So what's the problem? The teachers in Europe would, you know, say. But, you know, you were a 19-year-old,
Yeah.
but, and Hagar was a mother. That was, it is a very, very dangerous place, even for 13, for any age, frankly. So can you tell us about your 3rd experience of crossing the desert, just like Hagar, and you know, being eventually rescued? I think it is very moving. And on a bulletin cover, you have a place. You see the place where they were finally rescued, but only half of your group were rescued. The rest of the group perished there, and those are the crosses for them. But yeah, please.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. So, you know, the third time of my journey was in the hands of people who gets paid to bring you to this country with promises, with false promises. So those people are called human smugglers, they are called coyotes, smugglers, and they will take your money with a false promise that you're gonna come to America and you're gonna be safe. So because I didn't have any other choice to leave my country, I had a family in Los Angeles, my uncle and aunt, who let me borrow, my mother let me borrow $2,500. Back in 1980, that was a lot of money, and it's almost like $10,000. So those, we had three men from El Salvador who brought us north from El Salvador all the way back in Mexico. And to make a long story short, and maybe you'll get a book and you'll find the details of the story. It should be in the library too, so nobody wants to buy it, so they can borrow it, and that would be great too. Is that, you know, the third time, it was 26 of, well, it was 45 of us in a bus for 7 days, coming up north. And then when we get to a border town that is called Sonoita, Sonora, we were live again. And as the smugglers said, as soon as we cross the border, which at that time there was no wall, there was none of that nonsense ugly wall. It was pretty much a barbed wire. So it was really easy to, you know, get a hold of that wire and cross. So we thought we were safe in America. We did not know that after 5 days of being lost in the desert, because the smugglers did not care and left us behind with no water in 110, 115 degrees in the month of July, we were just like the story, in the middle of the desert with no hope of surviving. At the time I was rescued on July 6th of 1980, 13 of my friends have died around me. And the story it's been very hard for me to relive, and writing this memoir, it has not been easy because you have to go through every detail and remember what happened to you, what happened to your friends, and what it really marked my life forever. It was that in the story it was 3 sisters from El Salvador, at 12, at 14, and 16 years old. They were coming alone. See, when we are immigrating to this country because of a life or death, we are giving names. Really, they forget that we are a human being, that we are a person. So we are called many names. We are called aliens. We are called, you know, asylum seekers. We are called refugees, criminals, whatever. But they forget that we are a human being. So for us, those 3 sisters were unaccompanied minors. And they never got to see their mother, and the mother never got to see them because they died around me, and I couldn't help them. It was also a pregnant woman. She was 3 months pregnant around me. So you know, all those stories, the sad thing is that that happened so long ago in 1980, but those stories are still relevant. Those stories are still happening. Our deserts are still a testimony of so many deaths. We have in the area of Arizona more than 4,500 deaths along the borders, or people trying to seek safety, because we do not have yet a path that is more humanized for people to come to this country.
Thank you for sharing that kind of tender memory and being brave of actually sharing it with us and sharing with us the picture of that hollow ground there. But you survived, and we are thankful for that you can be with us. And you also use that as a gift, exactly like it is in our biblical story, into being a witness about what is happening there, and also trying to serve and do something for those who are still crossing the border or desert, just like Hagar with Ishmael. And I know that you are doing a lot. We visited, some of us from our church, those places. You were offering hospitality on a border. Sarah was there in Sasabe. That's another small town where there was a hostel almost. But can you tell us what are you right now doing? Mostly in Tucson, I understand. Yeah. So yes, please.
So my story, our stories are every day. So the situation has not changed much. It's actually not very friendly at this moment for our people. So my tragedy turned into this beautiful mission that I enjoy, that I am proud, that I am so honored to walk beside people who came like me or are coming like me to this country and seeking safety from all over the world, not anymore from El Salvador. So we are surrounded in Arizona for about 5 ports of entrance. So that's why we are very busy in that area with people coming and crossing. So we have an organization, it's a nonprofit organization that is the birth of, I really think, my second life. It's my baby. And it happened in 2016 when one of my daughters and I decided to provide that support to people desperate in the borderlands. So we organized and we created Salvavision, which is an organization that has helped thousands of people around our borderlands, and also people who have returned to their countries because they got deported back to start a new life in their own countries. We have done so much work in detention centers where people I don't call them detention centers, they're prisons, because they are treated like criminals when they are waiting for their process to seek asylum. And many of them have presented to an officer and asked for protection. And instead of giving them the opportunity, they put them in these prisons. They're private prisons, so we have been in there helping them, getting a lot of people out with bonds. We got a lot of people with paroles. We have done hundreds and hundreds of letters of support for these people. But also in the very small town of Sasabe, Sonora, where you visit with the church. It was beautiful in 2023, in the almost in spring of 2023. We opened a resource center in that very small town, which is a sister border town, Sasabe, Arizona, and Sasabe, Sonora. If you go back home and you Google that area, you'll see that it's a ghost town pretty much in both sides. So that very small town only had 2,500 people, local people. And at the time of the pandemic, it was a policy that came in this country to detain people who were seeking asylum and send them back to Mexico right away. It didn't matter what country that family was from. So we found a crisis in that community, a human crisis, because people were being deported every day, every night, in the middle of the night, in the winter, in the heat. Some of them have walked as many days as I did in the desert with blisters in their feet, not able to even drink water because they had so many blisters, or they had their blood pressure high rocket, or they didn't have it. They're diabetic. I mean, it was a disaster in that area. So Salvavision was able to build those bridges with the community, and they gave us permission to open a resource center. And we called that Casa de la Esperanza. It was House of Hope. And that's where I had the pleasure to meet these amazing women in front of here and her daughter, that they were coming. And I invited her, and I hold them so dearly to my heart. Because she was so young and beautiful. She was only 12. She didn't know what the world was ahead of her. And because we are in a mighty team, like you say, we were able to get them in the United States with a humanitarian parole. After she was rejected from this country at midnight with her little girl at a very small town, then no one would have opened the door for her at 3 in the morning because they didn't know them. They were strangers. But I am so proud of her. I'm so proud of them. I just love them so very much because they are the example of the people that we need to take care of. They are the example of the people that come to this country to work, to show who we are. And we need to hold them dearly. Yes.
Thank you, Dora, for your ministry you are doing right now in Arizona and across the border in Mexico, in Sonora, Mexico. And there'll be an opportunity to meet with Dora and her guests and our friends from Binghamton. She is continuing to the north to meet with the Presbyterian congregation of my original church in the United States, and it is very nice to have you here. There'll be an opportunity to meet with Dora after service during our coffee time, and there are still few copies of the book so that you can have it and have it signed.